Mayor and Council. Appreciate the opportunity to present our plans to you and share our thoughts with you tonight. As many of you know, the Hampshire companies and Pinnacle companies bought the property in August of 2014. The original plan involved a new A&P. Unfortunately, the following year they filed for bankruptcy, and after 156 years, they ceased operation.
Thank you.
Who's on?
You gotta talk closer.
I gotta talk closer. All right, is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So what I said is, unfortunately, in 2015, A&P filed for bankruptcy. The plan initially was to replace the Pathmark with the new version of A&P that they had at the time. But as I said, after 156 years, they're no longer an option. Since then, Hampshire and Pinnacle have met with the Economic Development Committee, and we met with the Redevelopment Subcommittee. We've had numerous different meetings and worked together to put to a plan that is redevelopment, including residential, retail, office, and substantial open space. Tonight, you'll hear from Dean Marchetto. Marchetto, Higgins and Stevie, our architect, who has substantial experience with sites that include older buildings and unique architectural elements. And together with the township, we look forward to moving this now towards the redevelopment plan at the planning board level, and then with this council, we'll then be able to see in this town another vibrant mixed-use development instead of what you see there today, as well as substantial annual pilot contributions to further the financial efforts of this council. I'd like to introduce Todd Anderson, a principal of our partners at the Hampshire companies, to say a few words.
Mayor, Council. Thanks for the opportunity to present tonight. I'd just like to bring up a couple of things that Brian touched on and then get some other insight. But the one thing that intrigued the Hampshire companies when Brian approached us on the Lackawanna Plaza project was really kind of the retail, but more specifically the grocery anchor of it. Probably some of you know, a lot of you probably don't. The Hampshire companies and the founders of the Hampshire companies, the Hanson family, really has been in the real estate development business in northern New Jersey for 90 plus years at this juncture. The interesting thing is the majority of that period of time has all been focused on really kind of grocery anchored redevelopment. At one point in time, the Hanson family was the second largest grocery anchored development company in the country. And so when we saw this opportunity when Brian approached us, we saw some real opportunity for to really kind of reinvigorate, have you, Lackawanna Plaza. So when we first were approached, as I think some of the members of the EDC know and the redevelopment subcommittee know, it initially was really just sort of a retooling, have you, and a refreshing of the Pathmark to an A&P Fresh. As Brian alluded to, what happened at that juncture, A&P filed bankruptcy. The one thing that we call within Hampshire is this ability to pivot. And all of a sudden we were presented with this opportunity or obstacle that some people may look at it as to, now what do? We don't have a grocer, we have a vacant store. We then pursued actually acquiring and buying out the leasehold interest of Pathmark. So now we had a free and clear center, but what did we do? We took a step back, and really what it presented us was much more of an opportunity than an obstacle to kind of really potentially transform the Fourth Ward and the Lackawanna development and into what you hear in the vernacular these days of kind of transit-oriented development, or kind of a live, work, play, entertainment-oriented development, with the anchor of that being grocery. The one issue that we faced with was that these grocers, and we're in discussions, and a lot of people have heard a lot of the ShopRite. Yes, we're in discussions with ShopRite. We're actually, pursuing and close to terms with them. The issue with these grocers at this juncture is that they have very specific templates. they're not gonna come in. The existing footprint of Lackawanna Plaza at this juncture is approximately 40,000 square feet. Any of these new stores are not going to come in.
Speak more loudly.
Any of these new stores are not going to come in primarily unless they can get 60 to 65,000 square feet. Number one. Number two, the issue that drives that is parking. And so the site as it currently exists does not support that scale from a retail standpoint and the ability to park it on a serviceability. So that dictates that we need to go to structured parking, which goes to alleviate some of the parking issues that the lady who came up here recently and spoke to. So we were really trying to figure out how to put all these puzzle pieces together and make a really kind of a vibrant development that included, number one, shopping first and foremost to the Montclair community. We understand that, we know that, and really want to try and figure that out. So to augment that, however, it does take other abilities to really kind of offset the cost of the structured parking. And that's where, again, some of these residential units came into play. So really, it's a combination of all these pieces that allows us to bring the retail to the community, number one, and then to get, again, they call it feet on the streets, but people to really kind of communicate with not just the shopping center, but the neighborhood as well, up and down Bloomfield and throughout the neighborhood on the retail standpoint and the residential standpoint. So that's just really, again, a 10,000 foot level. We've been through a myriad of different committees, commissions. I think, what the folks here really don't want to hear me, they would probably like to see the pictures. So I'll step down, I'll let our architect come up at this juncture, Dean Marchetta, and he can walk through the program and we can address questions afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. My name is Dean Marchetto. I am founding principal of Marchetto Higgins Stevie Architects and Planners, Urban Designers, located in Hoboken. Our firm is 35 professionals, and we've been practicing architecture and planning for 35 years. We specialize in these kinds of mixed-use projects. We've done them in many towns across New Jersey, and I'm pleased to be here to present this plan to you. Over the course of the last year and a half, working with this project and another project in Montclair, I've come to know a little bit about the culture, the arts, the history, not to discount the architecture as well of the township of Montclair. It's been a great experience for us to come to learn about the township, and I would like to mention that Mr. Greenbaum had some concerns from the Historic Preservation Committee that he wanted it to be a first-class, high-quality, appropriate type of project, and I'm proud to say that I think that we're committed to doing that, and we'll be able to meet that task. So I have two presentations tonight in terms of the plans. I have a set of architectural plans that I'll speak to, and then we have some rendered visions. I'd also like to say that this is not a final plan by any means. This is a concept plan. Once the concept plan is generally liked, I imagine it will be deferred or referred to a redevelopment plan process, and then we will be going through the normal process that the township goes through with the planning board and the other committees that are involved in seeing the project come to fruition. Okay, as Todd had mentioned, the major component of the project is built around the size and shape of a supermarket, a grocer, a modern grocer that will provide the type of grocery amenity that the town is looking for. The site, as many of you know, you can see on this plan, Grove Street right down the middle, Lackawanna here, with the retail and the old Pig and Prince train station conversion. Bloomfield Avenue is in here, and what you can see is that the site involves two separate blocks. We call it the block 1, or we call it the one that's the west block here and the east block here. The supermarket is going to be located on the west block. The west block itself is a little over 4 acres, and the supermarket that we're looking at here is 65,000 square feet. It's approximately an acre and a half just for the supermarket. It's a modern supermarket, and it's the kind of model that Todd talked about of creating a first-class grocer for your community. That does not include the loading and the parking entrances that are associated on the outside of the building. All together, with the loading and the maneuvering and the delivery areas, loading docks, it's almost 2 acres, and the site is 4.7 acres. We would like to include, besides the supermarket, the parking for the supermarket. The supermarket and the associated retail uses that exist there, along with the residential component, require about 541 parking spaces to be placed on that site. A parking garage is needed. Obviously, there's not enough space. The parking alone, just the parking space, is approximately 4.2 acres alone. So how do you fit this 2 acre supermarket entity along with 4.2 acres of parking on a site that's 4.7 acres? So it's a challenge. I think we've been able to solve the problem. I'm happy to share it with you. In order to do this, what we've decided is that garage has to be a multi-story structure. And the garage, a multi-story structure that holds 540 parking spaces, is not necessarily the best thing to look at in your downtown. So what we've done is we've tried to come up with a design that incorporated the supermarket, the parking above the supermarket, and then lined the block with single-loaded residential use. So for most parts of the site and for the neighborhood, you're not looking at a parking garage. You're looking at a residential building of 4 stories in height that has windows, doors, different architectural motifs, the kind of architecture that has a variety and that prevents any eyesore that might be caused from looking at a large parking garage. The east block is a little bit small. It's currently a parking lot, and that is the block on the right. And that block has a residential building of 4 stories. It has a parking garage on the ground level, and then it has a deck up above, an amenity deck for the residents to use, and it has associated with that is a 4-story residential building. So let me take you through the plan, and with that as an introduction of what we have. By the way, I'm joined tonight by my partner, Bruce Stevie. Been my partner for 25 years, and he's going to assist me with the presentation tonight. So this is the ground floor plan. Again, Bloomfield Grove. This yellow zone in here is the 65,000 square foot supermarket. You can see in this diagram, there are aisles, there's a checkout, and there's produce area here, and there's some back of house areas like freezers, dairies, and storage. This white zone right here is where one would come in with a truck and load in these loading bays. This is so that loading, when deliveries are made, is not taking place on the street. It comes into the building, underneath the parking garage, and it backs up into a very wide, maneuverable loading dock that can hold 6 or 7 tractor trailers. Off street, on the site, hidden from view. There's also a lobby here, as well as some amenity or retail space to line that part of the garage as well, so that you don't see any of that activity from the street. In the very front on Bloomfield Street, we have a large open space that spans the entire block. And one of the things you'll notice about the design is that there's an angle cut here on the site. We cut that angle into the plan in order to provide a wider space and more openness towards the old train station now, the Pig in the Fence. We also have a pedestrian concourse between the two, the existing retail, as well as supermarket, that allows one to enter and exit from the parking structure right down onto grade. The plan has been designed to incorporate a number of pedestrian-friendly networks so that we have walkability in and around the site. This is a pedestrian concourse, as I mentioned. There's a connection out here to the parking on Lackawanna. And this is a large open space, just under an acre, right in the front of the project between Bloomfield and the supermarket. Across the street on Grove, this is Grove in here, we have a parking garage on the lower level, and then above that parking garage, this is a residential. This is a residential building, almost like a J shape, with an outdoor open space for residents above the parking deck. This is the second floor here of the west building, and you can see what we've done. This is the parking garage, and you'll see that it continues all the way up to the roof. It's a 5-story parking garage, but it's 4 stories on the outside because the parking floors are lower than the residential floors and the retail. So you'll see a 4-story building wrapping this parking structure. This is a single-loaded residential use, taking this L-shaped cutout so that the view to the Pig and the Prince can be maintained and open, and then a single-loaded residential use. So as you walk down the corridor in your building, to the inside, onto one side, it's just a corridor wall, so you're hiding the parking. To the other side, which faces the street, on the perimeter, Grove Street, Glen Ridge here, and then the Bloomfield here, you have your windows, your doors, and your architectural treatments to create an exterior that feels like a normal downtown building. You'll see in the renderings we've made a lot of effort to suggest that we will have an architecture that will not be monotonous, but we'd rather pick up cues from the historic nature of Montclair's older structures, and that there would be a variety between step backs and setbacks, varying architectural treatment up at the roof. A building that runs down the length of the block will have a scale that feels more appropriate than a full-scale building of the block. Across the street, we've done the same thing. Smack down the middle of the site is the old concourse for the old train station that used to go there. And we've tried to recall and reproduce or replicate some of the historic details and elements from the train station that existed prior. In fact, we're suggesting keeping the 4 posts you'll see, the light posts at Grove. You'll see there's an architectural change that happens here and here in the building. So as you're driving through Grove, there's a recollection of what that train station used to be. It transcribes itself on this side of the building as well. And of course, this is where the platforms used to be. That'll be a future retail space. And then if we go up, the plan just continues in the same way up to the roof. So the next part of the presentation is to try to provide some visioning of what this could look like and what the style of the building might be. So you're looking here across Bloomfield Street.
Bloomfield Avenue.
Bloomfield Avenue, I'm sorry.
Correct the Montclairians.
Bloomfield Avenue.
He should at least know.
Mm-hmm.
Right across here is this open space. Like I said, it's just under an acre on the side. This is the supermarket on the ground floor. And then you can see that there's 1, 2, 3 residential floors up above. And you can see that because of the angle, this park is there. And then there's a pedestrian concourse that continues through here.
Where's the bus stop?
There's a bus stop right here on the corner. And you can see that by a variety of architectural treatments, there's an attempt made to break down the scale and create more sympathetic architecture here. Next. So here's again across Bloomfield Avenue.
Ooh, that's kind
The
of big.
supermarket is right in here. It's a tall ceiling in the supermarket with a lot of open space and light and air. And the building then turns the corner and runs up Grove Street right in here. The building on the right is the east block, the building on the left is the west block. And then again,